Like, we didn't give a fuck about the rules. We came into the break at 500 knots, full afterburner every fucking time. Like, squawks off, sweet, I'm bringing it every time. The Super Hornet, you're at 350. It's fucking lame. Like, there's something about the Tomcat. Everything we did was just...
These kids, they're going to be upside down. The world's going to be spinning beneath them. They're going to be talking on the radio. They're going to be selecting different weapons. They're going to be defending themselves from somebody shooting at them all at the same time. And then they're going to be accelerating, going to be under 7 Gs. Within 90 seconds, the amount of input going into their brain and the amount of things that their hands are doing and their mouths are speaking is incredible. It's just a fire hose of knowledge while they're flying at 600 knots and 7 Gs and 0 knots and 0 Gs.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. You can turn your cameras up. You've already done it, Megan. You beat me to it. Hi, Peyton.
Hi.
And where? Hey, Jay. How you going, man?
Hi, Meagan.
Good to see you. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the big one. It's the last session. We've given you guys an extra time because the demand for you people in particular, there were so many Speed and Angels fans that wanted to hear you guys speak, and then we were lucky enough to have Peyton be able to come in and join us at the last minute, which is awesome. So I'm really looking forward to this, and welcome. So for those of you who don't know the story, so Paco came up with the idea for and eventually produced a TV documentary called Speed and Angels, which is basically about 2 pilots going through training to be the last Tomcat pilots, and Meagan and Jay were those 2 people. And so they've all got really interesting careers. I'm looking forward to hearing their stories. So Paco, do you mind if I start things off?
Yeah, go ahead. Because
what I thought I might do is I thought I might start with, if we take Paco out of the picture for a sec, because he's the one who came up with the idea.
Totally fine.
As usual.
Yeah. I thought I would like to start with you, Peyton, because you were really the one that made this happen as I guess the director. I'm pretty sure Paco didn't have much movie or TV directing experience. So can you maybe tell us a bit about yourself and how on earth did this all come about?
Well, it actually started with Paco.
Yeah.
We were, and we still are close friends, but we were very good friends. At the time, I lived in the Bay Area, and I was directing, and Paco came to me and said, let's go make the Real Topgun. And I wasn't interested in a military story or fighter jets. And I mean, I feel like Paco for a long time, I was really busy with a bunch of other projects, and I just kept on pushing it off. Yep. And he was relentless. And finally I said, okay, I'll go up and I didn't even know, I mean, I knew nothing. I didn't even know what a squadron was. I knew nothing. And I said, okay, I'll go up to Nevada and meet your guys. Oh, hi, Jay. And there was something about that weekend, and I feel like I spent a good 5 days up at Fallon, and it just clicked in for me. And what clicked in for me was I had never met a group of people who, they all had a very consistent story, which was, I wanted to do this since I was a little kid, and I made this dream come true. And for me, that's a big theme in any story I tell, is to go after your passion. Yeah. And to make your dreams come true. So that's what really got under my skin, is who are these group of people that I didn't know existed, who actually, you know, made this dream, which is that for most people in the world seems impossible. And off we went.
Awesome. And I think, look, I agree with you that like I love the I keep wanting to call it a movie, but probably officially it should be a documentary, but we'll call it a movie anyway. I love the movie because of the planes, but the thing that sold me on it was the people and their dreams. So, and that's why Meagan and Jay, to me, you guys were the two perfect stars of that movie, because you both had such interesting stories and you seem like such interesting people, and I really love that passion you both obviously had to want to fly in the military. Well, I mean, if you could have done it civilian wise, you might have, but you know, that's what really appealed to me. And I said to you yesterday, Peyton, you know, for me, Top Gun the movie, huge hit. If you get rid of everything but the flying, I like it. I can't stand Maverick. I know some people might hate me for that, but you know, from my way of thinking, the real Top Gun is Speed and Angels. And that's a credit to you as the director, but also all of you guys, because you all played a big part of it. So,
it's really a credit to these guys. I mean, I was just following them around with the camera, trying to keep up with them. That's it. You know, it's really these guys and Paco, you know, right by my side, because this was a whole new world to me and really, you know, steering me in the right direction. That's all.
Yeah. And what's your thoughts about the whole world now? Because you said you didn't know anything about it. You didn't know what a squadron was or any of that sort of stuff.
Well, it's funny, just in the past 24 hours being part of like the text chain and you guys looping me in, I haven't been outside of this world for so long. And I'm like, oh gosh, call signs, right? You know, all of that.
Practically in the Navy for 3 years. She has, how many carrier landings do you have now, Peyton? At least 10.
Which trauma, I'm sure for most the audience would die to do that. It was traumatizing for me.
I'm sure
quality time aboard aircraft carriers.
Yeah. I'm assuming this wasn't in the backseat of a Tomcat.
No,
yeah, I was for 3 or 4 years. I was always on a base or an aircraft carrier, just, you know, following the story and trying to keep up with these guys.
Yeah. That's a long time to make a movie. That's
it. Well, documentaries, the fun and the hell of making a documentary is that it takes a long time for it to unravel and to discover the story. So discovering the story, as Paco knows, is painful, and then when you find it, it's magic.
Yeah.
So that's how long a good documentary, I think. And they can take, I mean, sometimes documentaries take you here about 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
You know, for life to a while to happen.
And do you still do people still recognize you, so to speak, because of that documentary? Like, is that kind of a thing that follows you around, if you know what I mean?
Here and there, every once in a while. No, I wouldn't say it's probably bigger for these guys because they were on camera, you know? Yeah, fair enough. So, okay, cool. So, Paco, you want to jump in, and then I'm going to come back and talk to Meagan and Jay. I haven't forgotten you guys.
Yeah. Let's see, I had a whole bunch of stuff written up. So Meagan and Jay, this documentary is obviously about you guys. And you're both such great representatives of, you know, that what Peyton was trying to convey in the film, you know, the passion and pursuit of a dream. You say it in the movie, but I still love hearing it. Tell us how you came to have that passion, how you fell in love with flying the F-14.
Yeah, you want to start?
Yeah, go, Meagan.
You want me to go?
Yep.
All right.
Here you go. You go.
Mine's easy, and I like it's fitting. It wasn't intentional, but I saw the movie Top Gun when I was like 10 years old. My parents were watching it. We made a tent in the family room, and they thought I was sleeping, and I was watching the movie. And before I saw Top Gun, I wanted to go to Notre Dame and be an accountant. I was just like, okay, I'm two numbers. I like math.
Thank goodness you didn't do that.
Right. And then I saw Top Gun, and it just, I mean, it was instantaneous, complete love. I was like, I don't know what this is. I've never seen anything like this, but I want to go and do that. I don't really know what that means. And I was completely infatuated with it, which is really poignant because last night because it was, you know, Tomcat Day was this week, or Top Gun Day. So I screened it for my kids last night for the first time, and they know the Tomcat is. But they were like super into it, and they wanted to know all the like what happened with the flat spin, why did Goose die? But my 4-year-old afterwards, she was going to bed, and she said, "Mommy, come here, I gotta tell you a secret." And I kind of leaned in, and she said, "Mommy, you're gonna see me fly a Tomcat someday." And I literally was like,
Yeah.
Just got chills, and I'm like, yes, I will, babe. I'm not going to tell her they don't fly Tomcats anymore, but
Hey, I can hook you up with a DCS
Right?
Tomcat for free. They've been
There
offered
you go. There you
2
go.
of them.
Totally. So
Yep.
yeah, it was the movie, and I think that's how it is, right? You see something, it's love at first sight. You see something, and for whatever reason, you just have a visceral response and a positive, and it becomes something you're passionate about. So I'm thankful for it. Yeah.
I remember what you said in the show. You said it was something like Maverick was the man. So was it him, or was it just the planes that really actually?
No, like it wasn't. I was probably too young to really have a crush. Like it wasn't like oh, that's cool. Like I was still like, I couldn't watch the sex scene kind of age, it was the planes. There was something like, it was the flying scenes. It was like every flight, every dog fight that he went through, the first opening scene, the end, those were the scenes that like got me where the hair was sticking up at the back of my neck. So it was the flying. And then they obviously make all of it look cool with the volleyball and the motorcycles. And that part seemed fun, and the singing in the bar, but it was the flying. And I didn't come from an aviation family or a military family, so I really had zero exposure to anything related to that before it. And I just was blown away.
Yeah.
Peyton, you wanted to parody that volleyball scene from Top Gun in Speed and Angels. Remember that?
So glad we didn't.
We shot it.
Oh,
I did
well,
not do a volleyball scene. I did not do.
We did. We shot it in Fallon with a bunch of 40-year-olds running around.
Did we? God, I think I'm in.
Oh yeah, I remember. I think Gino Essa like ruptured his ACL or something.
More the realistic volleyball story.
All right, Jay, tell us how you fell in love with the Top Gun.
Meagan nailed it pretty eloquently there. I don't have a whole lot to add, but part of my personal story for it was, my dad was a flyer all his life. He took me flying when I was, 3 days old on the way home from the hospital. So flying, I feel like, was in my blood from the start. And I lost him when I was 2.5. And I specifically remember when that movie came out, and I remember watching it and being enamored with the flying, being enamored with that airplane specifically. The volleyball didn't really get me going. And I just knew that looks like it's the hardest, the best, the tip of the spear. Like that's where I want to be. And maybe there was also like already in 4th grade, a little competition brewing between me and my dad, and I just needed to do more than he did. And I think that's what fired it up.
Yeah, that's cool.
Do you think you wanted to do more than him, or do you think you wanted to do you think he would just love that you were doing something that?
Well, I think there was a lot of layers there, but that's probably a psychology podcast. But I know for sure I wanted to make him proud. Of course, that's number one, right? I mean, that was what I grew up with: make your dad proud. But yeah, fucking A right. I wanted to compete and I wanted to beat him. Like that was part of my jam. That's what I wanted.
We're competitive. That's really weird.
A little bit.
I've never met anybody more competitive than the aviators here. Peyton, what do you think? Are fighter pilots competitive at all?
Oh, don't get me going on the personality of a fighter pilot.
What do you mean? Did you love working with fighter pilots or hate it?
Oh, I definitely didn't hate it by any means.
I'm sure she was starting to hate it just because it was so long.
No, I didn't hate it. No, not at all. I'm just thinking because Jessica, my editor, I mean, we had hours and hours of footage aside from Jay and Meagan. So we just had, there was a lot of consistent personalities that we would have to, that's things like, Jay, I'm sorry, when you just said tip of the spear, I was like, oh my God. That phrase I have heard maybe 10,000 times.
The first time I heard it was in the movie Top Gun, remember? Tip and spear, best be sharp.
Best, spear.
I just remember the alternate is in the women's ladies room. Those are the quotes I remember.
Oh, that's right. So one of my favorite things, living through this with Peyton, I got to see it from behind the camera, but you guys kind of got ambushed into being in this movie, right? I mean, it's not like you volunteered to be in Speed.
I wouldn't say kinda. I would say ambushed. No, actually, I'll correct. I wasn't ambushed because Peyton was avoiding me and I was avoiding her. Like we both, I didn't want to be token woman and she didn't want a token woman. So we stiff-armed each other for a while, but it was a small group. So inevitably, like, we were in the same van together.
You were literally on the same bench in the same van driving from the quarters to the airport, and Peyton turned her camera to you and asked you that question that you've already answered. And that was it, right?
That was it. It's true.
And she'd been with us a few days at that point, but we really had been avoiding each other.
Oh, yeah. I know. She's like, I don't want a girl in this. It's just going to be, they're going to think it's just about having a girl in the movie, but no.
Yeah, we were in Key West, and I remember I needed a ride somewhere, and I jumped in the van, and you had a seat next to you, and I always had, obviously I took my camera wherever I was. So I just thought, well, I'll just ask her, why are you, and that was it.
Done.
Serendipity is a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That moment is in the movie. Like, that's how that's our first introduction to Meagan. Like, Peyton.
And Jay as well. I think Jay, I'd met you were in the RAG, and I'd met you and all your guys. And then we were in Virginia Beach, and you guys invited me to go water skiing with you. And of course had the camera. And I said, so what's your story? What's up with the call sign? And in the movie, I think that's right when we meet you, is when you tell me why you have your call sign. And that's right when I met you. That's
also one of the first guaranteed laugh moments, because Jay's like, yeah, I'm not going to tell you that now. Wait, you really want to know? It took about 4 nanoseconds for him to share his soul to the director. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you.
But at that point, Peyton, I did not know that the movie was going to be about Meagan and I.
I didn't know that.
At that point, it was just some B-roll. We were just skiing. Like,
no, I didn't know. We were looking for, for a journey, for a story. And that was part of my trying to understand the Navy. I didn't know how anything worked. And then when I came to understand, there are quote unquote kids that are 22, 23 years old who just been handed a fighter jet. Now they have to go learn to do the dogfight, to land on a carrier. I remember thinking, well, now I've got something to follow. So let's follow these guys. But I didn't know either. Neither did Paco.
No, I mean, we started off with, I think you guys were in 2 separate RAG classes, right?
Yeah.
But you were right next to each other, 2 of the last RAG classes. And then we were all in Key West together, because I was down there as a reservist. Mm-hmm. Peyton was there, obviously, with herself, a camera crew of 1. And then you guys were both down there. Meagan, you were not.
We were doing a WCS dead or whatever. Yeah, we were like just there because the RAG was so small, they had to bring us.
Right. And then Jay and I actually got to fly against each other, which was super cool. And that's kind of like we started.
That was in the movie, or wasn't it?
I'm sorry, say that again, Aaron?
Was it in the movie, or was it in the dogfighting clip?
So, to create the dogfight sequences in the movie, that's happens later on. But there's a scene where Jay's in his flight gear in the hangar in Key West, talking about having just done his first dogfight against an F-5. And he's talking about having fought me. We had just fought that.
Wait, is that the one when you're like, they're debriefing me and they're saying, then you went north, then you went east, and I just know I went left. That's like one of my favorite parts. Yeah. It's so true. You're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was really pretty fun. And I got shot.
That was the same time that I come walking in from my jet, and I walk around the corner of the hangar door. I had just gotten my ass slapped around the sky, like completely smoked. Didn't know which way was up. I come around the hangar door covered in sweat, pissed off, and terrified of what this debrief is going to sound like. And Peyton jumps out with a camera and she's like, hey, you just got done with your first fight with the Saints. What kind of moves did you use up there? And I was like, fucking moves? I just got my ass kicked. And I was like, you know what? We're not going to talk about this right now. And that was the first.
But then you did, because that's what you always do. You're like, no, I'm not going to talk about it. Oh, you really want to know?
I'm a pleaser.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. That was great. But yeah, so that was super cool. And that's, I think, Peyton, we started off with, we were down in Key West with these 2 RAG classes, and we're following all kinds of guys. There was Jugs, there was Rocco, Maddie. I can't remember everybody.
Danny O'Hara. Yeah. Basically the 10 pilots that were left.
Yeah, there was like 10 or 12 pilots that we started following, right, Peyton? And then
Yeah.
like we go in and watch the dailies or whatever the clips, and we're like, and you said it because I could recognize everybody, but you're like, I just see the same person every time, but they're saying something different. I can't tell who's who. We got to narrow it down.
Yeah.
And over time, Jay and Meagan revealed themselves, and they're phenomenal backstories, right? I mean, it's just, incredible backstories that you didn't know yet, right? You just kept ambushing them gently.
Yeah, it was exactly that. It was phenomenal. It's a combination of phenomenal backstories, which you always want as a storyteller. And then I think the way that you guys spoke with me, or that we spoke with each other, was in a very authentic, real place. So rather than just constantly telling me how you're on the tip of the spear, we got more, we got deeper. You were very open, you were unafraid. And so that allowed me in. And then it was like toilet paper probably was stuck at the bottom of your shoe.
No, it's easier because we liked her. Like, she was fun. I'm like, all right, put the camera down. Let's go out to dinner and have a drink.
Yeah, no, we liked each other. And that, I think you can feel that. Some documentarians will make a documentary on someone that they don't like or they don't understand, and it's why they're making it. And that's great. And there's amazing films come out. For the way I'm wired, I have to like the people.
Yeah.
It makes me want to really dig in and follow you around. And so I just really liked you guys. I mean, I was thinking this morning, because it's been so long since I've really thought about the film. Some of my favorite moments was going home with you guys and meeting your family. I mean, Jay, I loved it when I went home with you, and your mom took me around town, and we met everybody. That was I think just 24 hours, and it was just perfect.
Yeah. One of the things that I learned from you at this juncture, Peyton, was sort of the movie magic, right? Like, it's not just asking somebody a question, it's that relationship, that you created with your subjects, and the mutual trust. And I'm pretty sure we told you guys, and we were genuine about it, but we were like, you could tell us anything you want and then watch it later. And if you don't want it to be in the movie, we're not going to put it in. So there was that trust.
Which was really nice. And I don't think that's always what someone in a documentary gets. It makes you feel much safer about like being vulnerable and maybe saying something out of context and being like, not that one. So that was huge, I think.
Yeah, you weren't afraid of being caught, like accidentally saying something that you didn't want the whole world to know.
Right. And I'm amazed that Jay still lets you keep it was the last bastion of fighter pilotness. I mean, it's just like the best line of the whole movie.
So
I didn't let him keep it. I required him to keep it.
Shockingly,
you weren't drunk at all when you said it.
Shockingly, this is one of those moments that we're all, we thought the filming was done, and we're all, it's me, Jugs, Jay, and Rocco at their house, and maybe a couple other dudes, and Peyton, of course, lurking around with her camera, always on, and we're having a couple cocktails, and Peyton asked Jay that question that elicited that response, and yes, we may have been
two favorite lines, and that's one of them.
It's a great intro for the Saints.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I only discovered that Jay had flown for the Saints a couple of days ago when I was doing a bit of research to put together this stuff. So, maybe we'll talk about that a bit later on. So, so Jay and Meagan, can you tell me? You guys have been through not only have you gone through Navy training, you become qualified naval aviators, all that kind of stuff. What was it like in terms of being involved in this film, and what has happened afterwards to you that you can kind of link back to that? Like, I said to Peyton, has this followed you around? Not necessarily in a bad way, but what impact has it had on your lives?
Like during the filming, what was it like? It wasn't particularly comfortable. I fought Peyton tooth and nail to not be in it. I remember I was on cruise, and I deployed immediately after finishing the RAG, and I was about 2 or 3 months in, and she wrote an email, something effective, hey, this is going to happen. And we're going to keep going with it. Oh, by the way, it's about you and Meagan now. And I was like, okay, stoked for you in the movie, and then it's going to happen. I think that's great. And good luck with Meagan. I'm not particularly interested, but I'm sure you can find somebody else. And that went on for like a month or so.
Really?
I'm not exactly sure what it was that Peyton said that convinced me.
I had to make some promises to you.
She might have made some promises.
No, I did. I made.
That was me, asshole.
I thought Peyton did.
Not the promises that I made.
Oh, anyway, it happened. They got me, and and the follow-on flow from the movie was so cool. Like, it was one of those deals where I was, a lot of times you go into things that you're hesitant to do, and then you come out the other side and you're stoked that you did it, and this is absolutely one of them. I mean, the coolest experience for me on the post, like after it was filmed, after it was done, was the first film festival I think I went to, which was Newport. And my family came down from Massachusetts, and everyone watched it. And it was also the first time I watched people watch the movie and actually realized that it was a good movie, because you can just see how they react and just the emotional response. It's just awesome. But most important was that I got down after, and my family's all hugging me and high-fiving, and they're like, man, we knew you flew jets and that's cool, but we didn't know what you did, like when you flew jets, like what you did in the cockpit. Now we feel like we do. And just the fact that exists, like that somebody was able to say that and have that understanding, that it just made it like 100% worthwhile. Just stoked.
Awesome.
Yeah. I think I can mirror a lot of those same sentiments. Obviously, as I already said, I was definitely avoiding participating. I had come through flight school and really not, although I was the only girl, hadn't felt like that. And when I showed up at the F-14 rag, the first person I met was literally said, who was there, said, women have been blacklisted. What are you doing here? Like, and it was a different environment. And then I immediately had someone filming me. So that was really hard. But there's a lot of personal development that came through that, just from being in that environment without a film crew and then with a film crew. But aside, they were so unintrusive that in a lot of ways, I almost got used to them being there. And it didn't impact me as much because I was able to sort of stow that. Mm-hmm. But I think the aftermath, I totally agree with Jay, has been phenomenal. The two things that I like I'd say the three things. One, I totally agree that it's awesome to be able to go to your family and they get it. So like 100% had the exact same experience with my family, which you can't put some things into words. And this film shows it to you.
I remember you saying in the beginning of the movie that your family didn't get it. You stopped trying to explain what you loved about it. So
right. And I felt like I didn't have to explain when they saw it. Yeah. The second thing that I really love about it is that it's opened up. I do a fair amount of, not a ton, but I probably do like 2 to 3 speaking engagements a year, based off of people who've seen the film. And I've been able to be like a commencement speaker at a high school graduation. And I go and talk to young high school kids and all different types of groups. And I love that. I love being able to tell them, hey, if I can do it, you can do it. There's nothing special about my story. I just wanted it and I believed in myself and I went after it. And I've been able to do that long enough now that people come up to me and they're like, I saw you speak at this event and I went out and I went to, it's like, it changed my whole life. And I went and did this or that. And that has been some of the most fulfilling activities I've ever done. Like more so than even flying, being able to have that connection with people has been huge. And then finally, and it goes back to the first thing, but I can't wait to sit down with my girls someday and my son and watch it. And I can't wait to have grandkids who, Grandma, is that you? I'm like, that was cool when I was young, like to have this amazing snapshot of you when you're in the heart of your 20s, living out your biggest dream. Nobody gets that. And so to be able to look back and see this cocky little smile and like, or know the inner turmoil at that point, it's really this amazing journal into your life that you can share with your loved ones. So I think that's really special.
Yeah.
I will say
how old are you? You said your girls. How old are they?
8, 4, and 3.
Okay.
My youngest is my boy. My oldest is my girls.
Okay.
I will say that almost every aviator, and Peyton, you'll have to back me up on this, but almost every aviator involved in the film, other than myself, did not want to be in the movie at the time, hated the thought of having a camera anywhere near them, distrusted film, media, all of that stuff, was convinced that they would kind of come off, compromised in some way. And then they've all, of course, come to love the fact, for the same reasons that Jay and Meagan talk about, that they were involved. Everybody, all my brothers that were in the Saints, man, they were like, why is there a camera here all the time? Now, of course, it's a great part of their lives.
And it's funny, I look back and it's almost out of body that we did it Jay and Meagan, you guys are so brave. I think about that a lot. You were so brave to allow us to follow you because you were so young. And Meagan, especially back then, it was a different era. You know, it was hard being one of the only women out there. And there I am following you with a camera, and that's so brave of you. And Jay, because everybody just gave you guys shit for that. And
I think we both got like absurd amount of shit, but it's all leveled out now.
Yeah.
I know, but at the time, wow.
Probably it, you know.
Yeah.
It's hard enough being the new gal in a squadron on your first deployment, being a nugget, having all the intensity and the pressure on you, but then to be, you know, the movie star that's running around the ship with, or the squadron spaces with somebody following you with a camera and having that sort of reputation follow you like, you know, a string with a bunch of empty cans on it. I don't envy that snapshot of your lives that you lived through for whatever it was, 18 months. I know it was hard. I know because I could watch it and I could see, you know, from a higher perspective that what you were going through was not fun. But, you know, I'm glad you did it. And I guess you are too.
And you guys handle it so well. Oh.
Yeah.
Not always. We tried.
Thanks.
We did almost lose our PG-13 rating because of one person on this Zoom call.
Well, it wasn't.
No.
I use the F word as a placeholder. I can't help it. Sorry.
It wasn't just you. Okay, 2 people.
Yeah, it was, I think, Meagan's when she catapulted for the first time. That video, right?
Yeah, that's a classic scene.
I mean, I never hear about that scene.
Or not.
And that's the fun of documentary making, is the way that we found that footage. Is I was over at Meagan's apartment, and I was I think, Meagan, I was digging through your closet. You're like, I don't know, there's probably stuff in your closet. And there I'm like rifling through her shoe closet, finding tapes in this. And there's one little tape that comes out that says, you know, I forget what jet it was called that we did the first time you catapult. And I was like, well, what's this? And you're like, I don't know. And I take it home, and my editor and I load it in, and there it is. It's like, Meagan, that is just gold. But that's why I love the documentary filmmaking. Or Jay, you know, to find the footage, you know, your poor mom, you know, I said, Janie, please go to the basement and dig up the footage of, you know, when Jay was born and on his way home. And God love her, she went down to the basement and sent me those boxes. And, you know, we had to get that transferred because it was such old film, and we loaded it into our editing system. And there's Jay, the footage of Jay, his first flight. And that's that's when it's like, there's something beyond helping with the film. It was incredible.
Well, and that's the first time I saw it too. So it was pretty special.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And now that I've had 3 kids, I'm really in awe of your mother. Because if someone was like, let's go for a flight, I'd be like, go fuck yourself. Let's go back to my house right now.
I'm pretty sure she said that to Dad, and he was like, fine, you can sit on the ground. And she was like, oh, no, you can double fuck yourself there. Like,
to your point, Peyton, one of my favorite sort of serendipitous moments was when you and I flew out to the boat to meet Jay and film Jay's homecoming from the ship.
Yeah.
And we go into his room, his stateroom, where he, you know, introduces us to Pigpen in the corner and all that kind of stuff. And and then he whispers in my ear, he's like, Paco, you got to check out this video. And he shows me that Mosul footage. Oh, yeah. And like literally the hair on my arm stands up, and I'm like, dude, I need this. I need this. He's like, no, you can't have it. It's top secret. I'm like, I don't care. We got to put this in the movie. And it took him 2 months to kind of roll over and send me a redacted version of that footage. But it's incredible, right? It's such a great anchor and a great climactic scene.
Guys, I want to direct the conversation to the topic of the day, which is the F-14 Tomcat. So,
all right.
That's sexy beast.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. Look, you guys, as far as I'm concerned, you could stay here and talk Speed and Angels for 10 hours. I'd happily sit and watch and listen. Not a problem. But you guys both trained to fly the plane. You both flew. I think you both flew it in a war zone from memory. Talk to me about your, I don't know, your Tomcat experience, for want of a better way to put it.
Do you want to go first, Jared? Do you want me to?
You're up. Your face is there. Go.
You just volunteered.
I think, first of all, it was like, I feel like when you work for something a super long time, you're worried you're going to be let down, right? And so at 10, I was like, I don't know what this thing is. I want to go fly this airplane. I went to the Naval Academy. I couldn't name any aircraft in any service except for the F-14. Like I knew nothing but F-14s.
Yep.
And so you kind of are worried it's going to let you down a little bit after 14 years. It did not. Like it was, I get chills right now. I've been thinking about it. That airplane was a dream. It was fast and sexy and fun, and everything about it, every flight was amazing. And what I think I love the most about it, because Jay and I both had the same experience that we transitioned to the Super Hornet, it was that airplane. Like when my squadron transitioned to Super Hornets, it was different. It was not the same. There were different rules. There wasn't the same, like we didn't give a fuck about the rules. We came into the break at 500 knots, full afterburner every fucking time. Like squawks off, sweet, I'm bringing it every time. The Super Hornet, you're at 350. It's fucking lame. Like there's something about the Tomcat. Everything we did was just, like I remember an Air Force guy I went to flight school with, and he'd come to me, we were CQing, and he was drinking with us at the bar, and he's like, you guys are such fucking cowboys. And I thought he was so lame that he said that. I'm like, Air Force guys are such losers. But now that I look back on it, I'm like, no, we really kind of were. Like that was just, you know, I did a BFM flight when I was in the RAG in Key West. I overstressed in the snapshot drill by a full G. And then we kept doing the flight, and I overstressed 2 more times. I came back in for the 500 knot break. I got an above on the flight. Like if you overstress in a Super Hornet, you down the flight. So there's something about just the community within the Tomcat that was fun. And it was, I mean, I can tell you stories about the Tomcat forever. It was a really magical experience. And then to be there in the sundown of it was something really special. But I'll let Jay elaborate.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, you nailed it.
I got to tell you, sorry, I've got chills running up and down my body at the moment. And it's not just because it's cold. Thank you, Meagan. It was awesome.
You nailed it, Meagan. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. So one of the most, like the fondest memories was the first memory, which was I had a great kind of instructor in the RAG, Burns Hess, and he was my first flight instructor. And the poor guy for the first flight, there's no training Tomcats. So the first time you jump in a Tomcat, you're the guy or gal, and it's on you. And it's one of those don't fuck it up airplanes, which I absolutely love. Like that's my favorite kind of airplane to fly. And you jump in there. You've done a lot of training to this point, but it's on you. And so it's pretty anxiety-inducing. And they put a poor instructor pilot in the back seat with no flight controls but an ejection handle, and he's there to hopefully talk you through some bad situation or make sure you're doing it the way you're supposed to do it. And so we go fly. He does it first in the front seat, and then we come back land. We swap seats. Now I go, and we take off. And I'm just, I'm kind of type A in this environment, and I want to do everything perfectly. And I'm looking at the gauges, and I'm nailing this perfect instrument approach, and everything's dialed in. And he's like, "Hey man, just take a second. Like we just took off about 3 minutes ago. Just take a second, take a deep breath, and look in the rearview mirrors. There's these rearview mirrors right here." And he said, "Look what's behind you." And you look back and you see like a tennis court following you in the sky. And the wings were back at this point. And I just remember that, and it makes my little heart pitter patter right now. And every single time I talk about it, like the most incredible view that I always wanted to see was an airplane with the wings back here and a lot of it behind me. And then, we get in the area and go as far as you can forward with the throttle and go as high as it'll go and roll out at 40,000 feet. And you're just like, I can't believe I'm doing this. And it continues. And we could, like Meagan said, we could tell stories about the Tomcat. Any Tomcat pilot, or Rio for that matter, could tell stories about Tomcats for as long as you let them. I mean, pull the string and we're off.
Yeah, it's. I think the thing I notice, just like the guys and girls I've spoken to today, it's a love affair.
Yeah,
I think I get the sense that's what it is. Because I mean, as a civilian on the outside, I've never been in the military unless you count the Air Force cadets as a teenager. Doesn't really count. To fly in a plane like that would be the ultimate fantasy for me, and probably millions of people like me.
And one more point that Meagan kind of alluded to with the community in the airplanes, they're very different. You know, a Super Hornet's a weapon system. You're meant to operate the weapon system. Flying the airplane is fairly easy. A Tomcat was a pretty challenging airplane to fly. I mean, maybe I'm just not that good, but I thought it was a pretty hard airplane to fly. And when I came back,
than me, but I thought it was hard. So
I was going to say, what do you reckon, Meagan?
So you get back from a flight and you do well. And I mean, if you're not backpatting yourself, like, I don't know where you are, because it provides so much pride. That airplane provided so much pride because it was hard. And you get in the Super Hornet and you're just supposed to do it well. Like, get back, you did your job. Congratulations, I guess. Let's go to the club. Like, the Tomcat was special in that manner, at least for me.
Yeah. I always say that. Well, I mean, I know you've heard the analogy, Jay, but the best analogy is you get your driver's license at 16 and dad gives you the 1976 Chevelle and it leaks and it doesn't have power locks, it doesn't have power windows, it doesn't have power steering, but it's fucking sexy. And you drive that and you just feel good and you feel like you can conquer the world and you're like winking at the person out, you know, there's just this whole vibe. And then it starts to leak too much and dad says, hey, I'm going to trade it in. I'm going to get you a 2020 Audi. And you're like, well, this is cool too, but it's not the same. Like it's got nice lines. It can go fast, but there's no sex. There's something missing there. It doesn't have the same. Yeah. I always wonder if I would have stayed in longer if I was still flying the Tomcat, like if that would have changed my mind, but the community seems so different.
Yeah.
I don't know if it became less fun because I just got older and cynical. And I wanted to run my own life, or if part of it was it legitimately wasn't as fun, you know?
Yeah, well, let's blame Senator Cheney for that one and the Hornet Mafia. In some of my research for this, I ran across this line, which I'm sure you guys have heard, but I only ran across it recently, which I loved, and it was something like, correct me if I'm wrong, Hornets by mandate, Tomcats by choice. Is that right?
Yeah,
yeah,
I've heard that one before.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. So,
Totally.
yeah. So, what are you guys doing nowadays?
Jay's more exciting than me. You go first.
I live in Denver, Colorado. I got out of the Navy. I flew as a reservist with BFC 13, which was kind of full circle, I guess.
Totally completes the cycle.
Yeah, I really did. And it was incredible. It was by far the coolest job in the Navy. And I also decided that I didn't want to fly for a living at that point. So I moved to West Texas and got into the oil business. My Wizzo from Super Hornets grew up in West Texas, Midland, Texas. And we decided that we needed to go back there and learn oil and gas, because I didn't want to fly for a living. I wanted to fly for fun on my terms. And I figured that might support that. So I did that for a while and moved to Denver a couple years ago. I am recently fianced, recently have a dog, and yeah, so life is good. In terms of flying, I got into air racing, hence putting
picture of the back
behind me.
Yeah.
And that was the most incredible flying. I said after the 2017 race that was the closest thing to combat since combat. So that was cool, and I just love older.
What happened in that race?
Oh, we just won. We just won the Reno races.
No biggie.
Basically record airspeeds and what's probably the coolest
No
race.
big deal. No big deal.
No big
It
deal.
was the most amazing air race in the history of air racing.
You were
Shocking.
there. You were there. You saw it
I was there. I saw it.
firsthand.
Yeah.
You saw me try to burn the airplane down on startup before it even started.
It was dramatic, literally from start to finish.
Yeah, well, I'm just looking to provide entertainment, Paco.
High entertainment value.
And what about you, Meagan? I know you've had some children.
Yes. I had my first when I was a RAG instructor, and then I got out and I worked as a defense contractor for a stint. Then I went back on active duty for a few years. And then I've been working for Amazon out in Seattle for the last couple of years. I'm an engineer. I'm a process engineer. So I help design buildings for delivery stations within Amazon Logistics. So I love it. It's a really good fit. Amazon's a very fast-paced company. So it's more my speed. It's been a good balance, and I'm still a reservist. So a couple more years and then I'll retire, and then I'll start getting gray hair like Paco, and the cycle will continue.
Do you, as a reservist, do you fly at all?
I don't. After I started having kids, well, I left the cockpit for 2 years to be an admiral's aide when I was still in active duty. And what I learned from that experience was, if I'm flying, I want to be flying consistently. I don't like flying once every 2 or 3 weeks, especially in those types of aircraft. I just feel like you're always knocking a little bit of rust off. So that's just not something I wanted to do. And then I always joke, like, call me cougar. I got 3 kids. I know enough people that, like, I think at this point we all have friends that have died in airplane crashes, and I don't want to be one of those statistics. So no, I want to do something where I can be home with my family as much as possible. Like, I want to work as little as possible to make as much money as possible to spend as much time with my family as possible. So
that sounds fairly normal for most people.
Yeah. So the best balance for that is just sort of weekend warrior. So, and that generally doesn't work out with flying squadrons. So,
yeah. And do you do any civil aviation flying at all?
I've flown, I think, once with demo, God, like a couple years ago. No, I think I'll get back to it eventually. I just don't have the time or the money.
Yeah.
And I'd love to go with my whole family, but with a family of 5, and my husband's humongous, he's 6'6". So to get a plane that I think he would fit comfortably in, and we could get all the kids to go, maybe when we're older, maybe if I win the lottery. Otherwise, once the kids are through college, I have a feeling my husband and I will get a plane and start touring around the country.
Most people, when they get to that point, think about buying a caravan and touring the country. You're thinking about buying a plane.
No caravan. No fighter pilot can own a fucking caravan. It's just wrong.
No, that's all right. We can let you get away with that one. So, all right. So, Paco, back to you. Sorry, I dominated this, but I love talking to you.
Yeah, no, it was great. Are there any questions that we can that are queued up? Can we finish off with some
let's see. Oh, well, questions. Oh my God. Yeah. Well, we're not actually, there's a lot. We actually have, hang on a second. We have 12 minutes before question time. So we've got to keep talking. Tell us another Tomcat. Tell us another Tomcat story, guys. Okay. So tell me, each of you, tell me your best BFM experience in the Tomcat. Doesn't matter why you think it's the best. That's just
the Tomcat. Definitely, like, mine's easy. I'll go first. He'll have a better story. Mine was definitely that flight that I overstressed on. Killer Kalari was my flight lead, and do the snapshot drill. We do the G check afterwards, and I'm like, 7.5, like, and I was thinking, oh shit, and he was like, dude, that looks so cool in my HUD. Like, press, let's go. And we do the whole flight. And it was just at that point, I couldn't see how many Gs I was pulling because the G meter was pegged at like a full G over. So there's no way to really know if you're overstressing. And it was so fun. Like, I can't remember anything other than the snapshot drill for the specifics. And I remember the snapshot drill. And for those people who don't know what that is, it's when you basically, your flight lead pretends to take a gunshot on you so you can do a gun defense. And then we came in, like, no exaggeration, we came in for like 550 knot full afterburner brake in Key West, carrier brake. And we land and we look at the HUD tape and they're like, oh, look at that Cobra maneuver. That was sick. And like, I just love that I totally like broke rules that you're not supposed to break. And I hurt the airplane and they were like, that was fucking awesome. Above, go buy a case of beer for the maintainers, tell them you're sorry. So I went and got a case of beer and I dropped it off. And, went drinking at the bars. But to me, like, that was my first BFM flight in the Tomcat. I went full on aggressive. They loved me for it. I loved it. And it embodied the complete, like, spirit of that airplane.
I know Paco did a little video for me a good couple of months ago. He was telling about the breaking the deck. And you remember that, Paco? And the slam into the deck. He went down to see the maintenance. I think I broke your fucking plane. Sorry, man.
Yeah. My back hurt after that. That's how hard that landing was. My back hurt. The Tomcat didn't care. It was fine. It was ready to go on the next event. Yay?
I specifically remember quite early in my Tomcat career having Paco's little white helmet in my Pipper when he was in an F5. That only happened
after I gunned you.
That was after I died 3 or 4 times.
Is that when you were doing an offensive set?
I think I actually.
I was on the rendezvous on the way to go back to the base.
I don't have any actual videotape to verify that. No, actually the coolest, the best dogfighting experience, you guys are going to kill me for saying this one. It was probably the worst.
It was the Hornet. Don't say it was the Hornet.
Worst. It was the worst. It was a Hornet killing me in a Tomcat. But the story is funny. So I was a brand new guy in the wing, right? I show up on the boat, like to my squadron, and they're like, "Hey, you're the newest kid at the air wing. Like, we're going on a cruise. Don't screw this up." Actually, I'm sure the quote was, "Don't fuck this up." And
I'm sure it was.
And like one of the first kind of just training hops we did after we got proficient again was some BFM. And I remember launching for a flight with a Hornet Top Gun, tactics instructor, like a no-shitter. And we take off, we go out there, and I proceed to just get, beat across the sky, like the whole time. And there's actually, I remember like turning, and I remember him shooting me, and me doing everything I can to stop getting shot, and the airplane just keeps shooting me. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And we get down and we get done, and everybody's like, boo-hoo, like that was a pretty sad performance. I'm like, well, fuck you guys. Like, we got what, 112 hours in this airplane, and this dude's a Top Gun instructor. Like, isn't he supposed to kill me? Like, congratulations, bro. And then everyone started putting it together and watching the video, and they're like, hey, good job, dude. You beat the new guy. Like, congratulations. Because he was showing the video to everybody. And I don't know. I that's my most memorable Tomcat BFM moment. Is getting killed over and over and over and over.
By F5s and Hornets.
I was going to say even worse whether it's a Hornet, but there you go.
That story.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's do some questions, guys, because there's a shit ton of them here. I'll just try and cull through them.
Let me finish off by asking Peyton, who has patiently sat here listening to all of her favorite flying stories again and again. It's like a
PTSD.
It's like a post-traumatic childhood memory being brought up. Poor Peyton. Peyton, can you tell us, like, are there any like shining moments from making the film? Just a couple little things that stick out.
God, there's so many, Paco.
There's
so many. Like I said earlier,
sort of seed your memory.
Yeah, which probably isn't that exciting for this particular audience. I love going home with Jay and Meagan and meeting their families and really understanding who they were. But something that will always stay in my mind is when we shot the aerial footage, the dogfight. And remember when we were in Fallon and we were on top of the mountain? Yep. And the film crew, we were on top of a mountain and there was a valley in front of us. And we had the black F5 and the Tomcat doing the dogfight. And you were with me on the mountain talking to the pilots. And we had some of the investors in the film there with us as well, like Mike Boyd, a few others. That was pretty extraordinary because that was almost like a private air show for us right there. That's something I'll never forget. And what
about that time you flew on the aircraft carrier, and when I saw you right after cruise, and you were like greenish white, and you had to carry a helmet bag with you the whole time?
Oh,
you remember that?
Not an aircraft carrier. I will say, for just so the audience knows, I got profoundly sick on an aircraft carrier.
And the ship wasn't even moving. I didn't
hear on the aircraft carrier much. She minimized that. She's like, no, I'm going to send someone to set that up.
Oh, well, thank God for Eric Hillenbrand, who I finally found. I was like, Eric, you're out there all the time. Just rig some cameras. These are the shots I need. Oh, it was traumatizing for me to be out there.
I love that the woman who made probably one of the most enduring naval aviation movies ever hated almost everything to do with naval aviation. If she could...
Oh, no, that's not true. I didn't hate everything to do. Not at all. I just physically didn't like being on a carrier.
Naval aviation.
She's like, I didn't like flying onto the ship. I didn't like leaving the ship.
Yeah. But I think actually, Jessica, my editor, she wasn't super enamored with all of that as well. And I think actually that's maybe why it's a pretty decent film, because we were so focused on the story and the human story, right? If we'd been obsessed with just the jets, it would just be eye candy movie, but maybe not such a story. Maybe,
Plane porn, we call it.
Fighter porn.
Yeah. I look, you know, for me, the plane porn is awesome, but the story totally made it movie. That, you know, the two characters you guys have got there, you two got there, and that story that you put together, really just love it. I could watch it every day, no problem at all.
That's why I convinced Peyton to be the director, because I knew if it was just me making a movie, it would have just been planes and bar scenes.
What more do you need?
I don't know.
Being on the deck of an aircraft carrier is surreal. I mean, there is not the noise and seeing the jets take off and landing. I mean, there's no way to imagine. That's why we tried our mantra for making the film was put the audience in the cockpit, put them on the aircraft carrier, because that was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, Q&A time.
Yep. Okay. This has probably been answered, but I'll throw it at you guys anyway. John Spielberger asks, initial impressions of the Super Hornet versus the Cat.
Oh, I think, come on. Meagan covered that in, you can't give a better answer than what she did.
I could say something ruder.
I don't know.
Okay, we'll move on. John Spielberger again asked, Peyton, who was your cinematographer? Great work.
Two, I did any documentary scenes, meaning when Jay and Meagan and other pilots are talking, that's me. And kind of funny story is that I had basically a document always on me that said, I'm allowed to be on an aircraft carrier, I'm allowed to be on a naval base, that I have permission, as long as I'm with a fighter pilot. So I had
not a SWO or a helicopter pilot, just a fighter pilot.
No, it was. I think it was. And so I had, camera in my backpack, and for, as we were talking about, 3-4 years, I was all over. I was Key West, I was Fallon, I was Virginia Beach, I was on different aircraft carriers. And so when we finally sat down to show it to the big boys in the Navy, to show them the final film, they had no idea that we had making this, and we had the permission, but they just looked at me and they were like, we had no idea. But that's, if I'd had a whole crew with me, but I could never have gotten all that personal footage that is so important. Even hanging out with you, Meagan, in your stateroom on the carrier. So the documentary footage is me. The aerial footage, meaning dogfighting, the aircraft, the catapults, the landing, all of that. That was Norman Bonney, who's an incredible cinematographer. And we did that several different ways. We had the crew on the deck of an aircraft carrier getting those shots. We rigged cameras in the cockpit. Eric Hildenbrandt was great help with all of that rigging with the cameras within the cockpit. And then when we did the air-to-air, and Paco, you can probably talk about this more eloquently than I can, but we had a Lear jet that would follow the Tomcat and the F-5 as they did their maneuvers. Because it's like, almost imagine filming two flies in the middle of a room. That's pretty impossible. And one thing that we had looked at, and this was, a long time ago when we started the film, is that what all the fighter pilots, and of course what Paco, explained to me, was that no one had really had done had captured maneuvers as well as Top Gun. They had done CG, but no one had caught it live and captured it live as well as Top Gun. And so that was always our goal, was to capture maneuvers that Top Gun hadn't been able to capture, just because we were shooting our movie, 20 years, 30 years later? I don't know. So that was always, and again, Paco, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was always our goal, was how can we bring something to the audience that they haven't seen live, no CG.
Well, that was one of the reasons why it took so long to film the F-14s, was because I had to choreograph every shot, both from Fairview Peak and the Lear, and put it all on kneeboard cards. And then I had to get on the Admiral's schedule, and it took almost a year. And that we were in danger of losing the Tomcat because I couldn't get in front of the 4-star Admiral to brief him on exactly all the maneuvers that we were going to be doing. So it was tenuous times.
And putting that together was probably besides putting the story together, getting that together was one of the more stressful periods, because if we didn't have that, then we didn't have a movie.
Yeah. Hey, quickly, I jotted a note down so I wouldn't forget this. I'm sure you guys have been asked this before. I noticed when I'm watching Speed and Angels, every now and then when you're inside the cockpit, it suddenly turns into a bug. a Hornet. What's the story? You ran out of Tomcat footage and you just thought you'd splice something in?
Yeah, I mean, essentially,
Yeah,
so
the whole time I was saying no to Peyton, I wasn't taking any footage of me in the cockpit. So the only time we could get footage of me in the cockpit was in a Super Hornet.
Ah, okay. Fair enough. All right. So another question. Okay, Matteo Zanzi. This will be for the pilots. According to Bio's book, approach speed for the F-14 was 134 knots. Would you have a rough power/pitch number to start an approach to a carrier?
Jay, I'll let you answer that.
I mean, I didn't use power and pitch. I just used angle of attack. Right? I mean, that's
Why
all
are we getting these hard test questions?
I know. We had this angle of attack gauge.
I made the light green and then
Amber,
Yeah, that's the one.
not green, amber.
amber, red.
The throttles were right about here, and
Yeah.
the nose attitude was right about here, and I would do this, and it would just work.
Then I would pray really quick. I hit the DLC a couple times.
Yeah, I know what he's at. I get the question he's asking, right? He's looking for a reference point. Like, if I start with this nose attitude in this power setting, is that a good starting place? I have no recollection.
Well, we had
Yeah.
the power carrot. We had like the stuff in the HUD took that away from you. So we had basically
Don't
a
tell
power
us
carrot and a velocity
about
like
how easy it was.
so easy.
Yeah, I don't know. So, Aaron, to answer that question a little bit and getting back to stuff that Jay and Meagan said, flying the Tomcat was so much about the seat of your pants. You kind of knew you were in the zone when it just felt right. And it felt right because you'd done it 100,000 times before. And then there was an angle of attack gauge on the glare shield, which gave you the fine tuning, like within a knot or two to get you on speed. And then you just manipulated the throttles, which again, like Jay said, like you just knew, like your hand was in the right spot. If it was a little too far forward, you felt that. And it was just a very natural, like it's hard to explain to somebody just how much of a part of your actual body flying that plane was. It was really woven into you.
Yeah. Okay. Martin Pring asked, question for Jay, what aircraft gave you the bigger thrill, the F-14 or the Voodoo Racing P-51?
Well,
Jay.
About to get awkward.
Obviously, F-14. Right? Like, that was my dream come true. It was something I wanted to fly since I was in 4th grade. Like, the F-14. There's absolutely nothing that compares to it, even a racing Mustang. I did not fly the Voodoo Racing Mustang. I flew the Strega Racing Mustang, which beat the Voodoo Racing Mustang. So in that regard, Voodoo gave me a thrill as well. But no, the Tomcat was the winner.
Good answer. Illy asks, to Peyton, would you make another movie or documentary on a similar topic? Would you go through it all again?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was pure joy making that film, making Speed Angels. Just the magic, like I explained, of those moments of, finding Jay and Meagan and the answers and meeting their family and digging through closets and finding the footage and being welcomed into this world that I didn't know about of aviators who, really, I was thinking earlier, Paco, I think you asked me, how did I like, fighter pilots? They 100% across the board, everyone was, who knows what they said to me about me when I left the room. But
they never mentioned you. It was as if you were never there.
This tall, gracious woman who's not in the military, who's walking around an aircraft carrier. No.
Sweeping her giant locks back.
To my face.
Yeah, they didn't notice, Peyton.
Everyone was so nice. Everyone was so polite. I got to be friends with the wives, with a lot of the guys. They'd have me over for dinner. It changed. I think it changed all of us. And Meagan, I love what you said earlier about when you give speeches and people come up to you and they say that you inspired them to go after their dream. I love that, because that's why, for me personally, it's why I made the film. Like I said earlier, it wasn't so much about jets. It was just these group of people who made their dream come true. And that's why we're here. Meagan and I chatted on the phone earlier this morning, and we were talking about some people we know about how they don't go after their dreams, and what is that about? And Meagan, you said it, like, this life is short. Make it happen. Find joy.
Yeah.
So I love that you are continuing to go out and speak and inspire people to do that. It's what it's about.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Peyton, I'm glad that it was such a joyous, like 100% joy for you, because for me, working on the backside, trying to get permissions for all this stuff, I literally would stare at the wall thinking, how many times can I bang my head against this before I either die or my head goes through the wall? I don't know what's going to work. But somehow it all worked out.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's definitely moments that were just pain. I remember one time showing Mike Homer, who was our main investor, very early on a 20-minute cut, and it was horrible. You know, as that's what happens when you make a documentary, is there's a lot of pain of just shit that you have to go through. Woo! And he didn't want to, that was a horrible experience. So there was a lot of pain, but it was all, that's guess what? That's life.
I have a movie suggestion for you, Peyton. Just a little hint. What do you reckon?
It's not a good, it's just so good. Paco, that you rocked it. It's such,
Yeah.
and I love the opening. Oh my God, the very first paragraph, I was like, my God, Paco's such a good writer.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
And
Paco gave me an early manuscript, and I read it in one half days.
Fantastic.
Hammered through it. It was so good.
I know. Edge of the seat. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so let me see how much time we got left. We have 4 minutes, so I'm going to ask one more question for you. So James Sheldon asked, what was the highest G you pulled in the F-14? We all know it's a lot more than 6.5 to 7 G. So be honest, he says.
Mine was 7.5. Mine was that BFM flight.
Okay.
9.1.
Oh.
Yeah, mine was in the 9-ish range too. I was in an awesome squadron. I was I was in charge of the maintainers, and they kind of told me that until you get over like 9.5, they don't really care. And I knew that our squadron's airplanes were going to be retired pretty soon, so I consequently didn't really care. So
You tried to go over 7.
8 was no problem. I was routinely at 8 Gs in that plane.
What were you doing, Jay?
I was dodging a missile, trying not to die. So, like, I feel good about
Okay, that's a cooler story.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Oh, wow.
That's the flight with demo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, guys, we, much though I hate to say this, we have run out of time. So we've got 2 minutes left. And you three, lucky you three, you get to give away some prizes. So people get to win a Hitler Tomcat. Now, do you all have your names there?
I do. Hold on. I gotta find mine. I got it.
Who wants to go
I got
first?
mine. I got mine.
I have mine.
Somebody go first.
All
Okay,
right. Go pay.
Okay, Danny Harrison.
Danny Harrison.
Hey, Danny.
Well done, Danny. Excellent.
Yeah.
We will be
Hey.
in touch with you. Jay,
Beer Van Aken.
It's a good name.
a good beer.
Yeah.
Well done, beer. And
Good man.
Meagan.
Jerry Evans.
Go,
Woo!
Jerry. Well done. Awesome. Hey guys, thank you so much for coming on. I could never have believed that when I first contacted Paco and Bio that I would end up on a bloody 7.5 hour live stream talking to you three people in particular. It's been an absolute privilege, and thank you so much for it.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk again another time about more stuff. So
Aaron, thanks for making this possible. I don't think the four of us have spoken like this in 10 years, probably. I mean, I speak to one of these people all the time. Well, not all the time, but frequently. But to have all four of us on together again was really great. And thanks for making that happen.
Yes.
my pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure. So
Aaron, thank you for making it happen. Paco, you and your Speed and Angels contemporaries, you guys, I love the movie. I saw it. I helped to make original Top Gun. I had no idea what I would find when I watched Speed and Angels, so I watched it skeptically. I was overwhelmed. You made a great movie. Thanks.
Thanks,
Congratulations on your success.
Thank you.
yeah, it's fabulous. All right, guys, we're going to go to a short video, and then Paco, Bio, and I will wind things up with some last prizes, and then I guess we'll do a wrap up pretty well. So
Okay, sounds great. Peyton,
awesome.
Jay, Meagan, thank you guys so much.
Yeah. Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
guys.
Awesome
Bye,
to meet you. Speak to you
Bye-bye.
soon.
I have always been a writer. I've been writing much longer than I was ever a pilot in the Navy. I started writing creatively in high school. And then my studies at university and college were such that I needed to write a lot of papers. They weren't fictional, but I just was writing constantly. And it had always been kind of a secret ambition of mine to be a novelist. And so finally, a few years after making Speed and Angels, I steeled myself for what I knew was going to be a long and difficult journey and sat down to write Lines of the Sky. So it was the realization really of a lifetime ambition to write a novel, hopefully the first of many novels, a good way through the sequel, which is called The Dragon. And it's just something I really love. I love the creative process. I love the written word, and I love being able to bring the thrill, excitement, and characters of naval aviation to people, in a fictional format. Lines of the Sky took what I would consider to be an embarrassingly long time to write. I had the outline done fairly quickly, and it was a good detailed outline, probably 30, 35 pages. So I knew where I was going with the book, and I had a great sense of all the characters. It just was a matter of finding the time and then really the confidence. My first draft was really bad, which I think is common, but it set me back a little bit after I finished it, and then I took some time off from the book for about 9 months, and then came back to it with a renewed sense of vigor. And then I finished the second draft, and then, pretty quickly after that, and jumped into the third and fourth draft, really fleshing it out and fine-tuning the narrative and the characterizations. And also taking a lot of the really granular detail out because it was just overwhelming. And then I found a phenomenal editor that I worked with for about 6 months, and that's really what took the book from maybe a good book, 90th percentile, to the book it is today, which I think those who read it really enjoy it. So that whole process took about 5 years. I'm hoping to trim that down on the second one to maybe a third of that time, so a little over a year. I was in the Navy a total of 20 years, 10 on active duty and 10 in the reserves. My highlights are not necessarily in order, but the highlights are getting winged. When you're in university and you're in the Navy ROTC program or organized at the academy, and you aspire to be a naval aviator, getting winged is something that you can barely imagine achieving. It's the odds of getting into the program and succeeding, landing on an aircraft carrier, making it all the way to the finish line are so slim that it's almost embarrassing to wish for it, to aspire to it. So when you finally do succeed and you finish the program and you get your wings, it's a tremendously emotional moment. Second highlight is going on my first deployment. It's a great experience. You're filled with trepidation and excitement. You're very young. I think I was 25 years old on my first deployment. And it's a very real thing. You take something that was very conceptual and sort of romantic, and you go off on a ship with about 5,000 other people and a whole strike group, and you go off to do the mission that you were trained to do and you dreamt of doing for probably 7 or 8 years at this point, if not longer. So that was a huge moment in my career. And then probably the third highlight of flying in the Navy was getting into my reserve squadron and flying F-5s and being a bandit for 10 years. That was just the most pure and exciting and fantastic flying that anybody could ever ask for. It was really a joy, and I feel very fortunate that I got to experience that. I hope Lines of the Sky sounds interesting and intriguing to you, and you decide to pick it up. If you do, go to your local Amazon. It's available in hardback, paperback, Kindle, and audiobook as well. Thank you so much.
Okay, speed Andrews on the left. 3, 2, 1, take off.